Thank you very much. Your Excellency, William Samoei Ruto, President of Kenya, it is an honor for us to welcome you here today to the United Nations compound, especially since we know that you are busy planting trees today. Today is a National Tree Planting Day for Kenya. Ambassador Mesa Kwedra, INC Chair, and of course my dear colleague Jyoti Mato-Philip, Executive Secretary. To all distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, warm welcome to Kenya, Karibu Kenya. Welcome to the home of the United Nations Environment Programme and to this, the third session of the Intergovernmental Negotiating Committee to develop that internationally legally binding instrument on plastic pollution, including in the marine environment. Colleagues and friends, 18 months ago in this very city, in this very hall, at an emotional moment, the gavel went down at the 5th United Nations Environment Assembly, and we passed that very historic resolution to craft this instrument. There were tears, and there were hugs, and there was joy. Let us recall that moment, because this resolution was hailed as a triumph of the Nairobi spirit, the spirit of cooperation, the spirit of consensus, and yes, the spirit of ambition. I ask that you embrace this very spirit once more in the coming days, because this agreement must be strong, because it must be comprehensive, because it must be ready by 2024. And as you begin, let me remind you of a key point. The resolution that you passed at UNEP 5.2 called for an instrument that is, and I quote, based on a comprehensive approach that addresses the full life cycle of plastic, unquote. Not an instrument that deals with plastic pollution from recycling or waste management alone, the full life cycle. And this means rethinking everything along the chain from polymer to production, from product to packaging. We need to use fewer virgin materials, less plastic, and no harmful chemicals. We need to ensure that we use and reuse and recycle resources more efficiently and dispose safely of what is left over. This is how we protect human and ecosystem health. This is how we slow climate change. And this is how we create new jobs and sustainable markets and deliver a just transition. So the instrument must eliminate the unnecessary, problematic, and avoidable plastic products, including short-lived and single-use plastics. The instruments must ensure that the redesign of products, including packaging, to use less plastic and be more easily reused, refilled, repaired, and repurposed and recycled repeatedly. And the instrument must eliminate unnecessary single-use products and foresee a switch to non-plastic substitute, alternative plastics, and alternative products that do not create a negative impact. And that includes dealing with microplastics and harmful chemicals, because we know that over 900 chemicals have been identified in packaging, and 148 of these have been identified as most hazardous. Workers and users are exposed to these chemicals before they even become waste. They've got to go. This deal must also strengthen the systems for reducing, reusing, and refilling and recycling, improve the environmentally sound waste management and disposal, deal with the legacy of plastic pollution that washes up on our shores, and of course, deliver a just transition and new, decent jobs for communities such as waste pickers. Friends, the Chair's zero draft that he has presented to you includes these elements and more. It is a true work of multilateralism. It is now up to you to ensure that together we reach a transformational instrument by backing these elements and putting in place key enablers for the real deal. And that means setting ambitious targets with accelerated timelines, because the agreement will only be as strong as the reduction goals and the list of banned substances and products within it. And that means prioritizing work on the enabling policy environment and legislation, because we all know that legislation enables change. And that means clear incentives, including for the private sector, to innovate on materials, scale up on reuse and refill systems, and participate in extended producer responsibility system. And this means financing, assistance, and international cooperation so that nations with fewer resources, including those that produce plastics, can change track. And that means real funding for R&D solutions. This means following the principles of safe and environmentally sound approaches when redesigning, because replacements for plastics and chemicals cannot be harmful. And that means bringing everyone on board, the governments across sectors, businesses across value chains, public and private institutions, investors, civil society, waste pickers, indigenous people, scientific bodies, and the other multilateral environmental agreements. And it means investments in solid waste management infrastructure, that is engineered landfills with leachate collection to prevent groundwater pollution, compacting those landfills, as well as sorting and recycling. And it means ensuring a transition that works for everyone, that is just and leaves no one behind, because the deal won't stick without justice for nations, for communities, and for people, including waste pickers. Friends, one of the most important enablers of all of this is private sector leadership. If industry gets not just behind this deal, but ahead of it by putting its resources and innovation to immediate work, we can turbocharge this transformation. And frankly, it will be an issue of early winners. I ask, therefore, the private sector to understand that this is not just about philanthropy or corporate social responsibility. This is about your future. In the boardroom, as well as in your homes, this instrument is coming. The world is changing, and we all know that as the drive to sustainability gathers pace, the early movers, the early innovators, will be those that succeed. Companies that adopt non-plastic substitute alternatives, etc., and use better plastics now will win the market share. Once they have it, everyone else will be running to catch up. And since we are in Kenya, let me say, let Africa lead the way. African nations like Kenya and Rwanda and many others have led in reducing single-use plastic, have shown that it is entirely possible. For over a decade, this has been in place in a number of countries. African businesses have innovated in spaces like mobile money. We see this here in this country. And Africa is a continent of natural resources that can be used for planet-friendly alternatives and substitutes to plastic. Friends, the coming days will be crucial, and it's in your hands. INC-3 must be a strong next iteration, a strong next iteration of the draft, and a mandate for the chair to get ready for the next round of negotiations in Ottawa with that next iteration ready. So I ask that you embrace the Nairobi spirit, that you embrace this beautiful country that we are so proud to call our home, that you are ambitious, that you are innovative, that you are bold, and that you use these negotiations to hone a sharp and incisive instrument so that together we can carve a better future free from plastic pollution. Thank you.